Hello there, welcome back to the channel. I am Grand Moff Tony. Well, 2022 is pretty much over, so it's time to go back and have a look at the top 10 best Star Wars The Black Series figures of the year. Before we get started, let's establish some ground rules. Firstly, all figures on the list must have been released in 2022 and been available to the public. So that means we're going all the way from the Fennec Shand wave all the way back in January to the Clone Wars Maul wave, which came out towards the end of the year. Secondly, and on a related subject, you won't see Clone Wars Maul on this list because I'm only including figures that I personally added to my collection this year. So that's the rules out of the way, let's get on with it. Firstly, an honourable mention I wanted to throw out to the Death Watch Mandalorian. What a fantastic update to an outdated sculpt. It almost warrants a re-release of Jango Fett, but we've already had two of them, so I don't think we're going to get it. The update to the Death Watch Mandalorian is fantastic. The posability is great, so I really hope we get a lot of mileage out of this new mold, and we see a lot more Mandalorian figures coming along with this new body mold. Starting off at number 10 on my list, I wanted to throw out some love to the figure that was so good I had to buy it twice. That is the Deluxe Dark Trooper. What a fantastic mold for a figure this is. The Black Series always does a fantastic job when it comes to droids and aliens, and the Dark Trooper is no exception to that rule. The articulation is exceptional, the glossy black paint is just perfect, and he looks so imposing looming over Moff Gideon's shoulder. It's a perfect addition to the droids of the Black Series. This was a deluxe set that came with a lot of great accessories, including alternate hands, not something we see very often in this line, but I'm really glad that we got them. The Dark Trooper gets the number 10 spot on my list. Moving to number 9, we have another addition to the deluxe line with Saw Gerrera. Talk about a character that I never expected to get a Black Series figure of. This guy is awesome. You can look up any picture of Saw Gerrera from Rogue One and just examine it for any tiny detail in his costume. You will find it on this figure. It's so exceptionally well sculpted, and you know they're not going to get any mileage out of this figure because it's pretty much one and done. So the fact that they even did this in the first place is a bloody miracle. It doesn't come with a ton of accessories, but it doesn't need a ton of accessories. It's Saw Gerrera. Just give him his stick and his blaster and you're done. And also an exceptional head sculpt that matches Forrest Whitaker's likeness to a T. This is one of those rare moments in the Black Series where you get a figure that you could just stare at it for hours and you keep finding new things to like about it. Saw Gerrera gets number 9 on my list. Moving on to number 8, we have a late addition to the list, but a welcome one indeed. It is the Bracca Cad Bane. Now, considering this guy looked like it was just going to be a ton of reuse from the old Clone Wars Cad Bane, an old favourite of mine I should add there, this guy was a delight to get out of the box and see just how much of it is new. Obviously, people have been talking about it for months, but I didn't believe it for a second until I got the thing in my hand. You're talking, it's a new head, it's a new hat, there's mostly a new body. I think it's pretty much just the legs and the holsters that are the same, but there are some details in here that I still think that, no, this looks new. This looks entirely new. Cad Bane got a lot of love in 2022, and I could not be happier. He's my favourite bounty hunter, so this guy was an absolute dead cert. This is a no-brainer. It's going on the list. I absolutely love the striking gunslinger silhouette that he cuts on the shelf. He's actually got double pivoting wrists, which for a dual-wielding gunslinger is absolutely perfect. I don't know, man. This guy might be a front-runner to overtake the Clone Wars Cad Bane for my favourite Cad Bane. But for the time being, he scores himself a respectable spot at the number 8 on my top 10 best figures of the year. Moving on to number 7, I usually don't like to include army builders when I'm talking about, the best figures of the year. I prefer to look at characters and great adaptations and realizations of great characters in figure form, but I just had to include this one. It's Figrin D'an Music Man. Now, I had to include this guy because this was probably the best execution of a Black Series figure I've ever seen in my life. In terms of, wanting to army build, whoever it was that decided one figure gets 3 instruments, the other figure gets the other 3, you can buy as many or as little as you like to make up your Cantina band. I've said it before, I'll say it again, give them a raise right now. They deserve it. I said earlier that the Black Series does a great job with droids and aliens, and Figrin D'an is no exception. The head sculpt on this guy is great. The articulation is exceptional. It's another great addition to the Black Series for an alien background character. Personally, I really hope this sets the tone for what we'll see in the future of like army building figures. Like maybe we'll start to see clone troopers coming with more than one weapon so that you can mix and match which troopers get which gun. Or maybe with the upcoming release of the Endor Rebel Soldier, maybe we'll see something similar to the old Hoth Rebel Soldier again. I don't know, I really think that the way that Figrin D'an and the modal nodes were executed in the Black Series, it gives me a lot of hope for what we're going to see in the future. But for the time being, Figrin D'an, number 7, best figure of the year. At number 6, we have another deluxe addition to the line, the deluxe Throne Room Boba Fett from the Book of Boba Fett. Now, I'm not what you'd call a Boba Fett fanboy. I've always thought of myself as more of a Boba Fett hipster. I was the guy that was like, why is this guy on all of the merchandise when all he does is stand in the background and not do anything? But then Mando Season 2 and the Book of Boba Fett had to happen, and I pretty much gave myself whiplash from how quickly I changed my opinion on Boba Fett. And the deluxe Throne Room Boba Fett is a great interpretation of where I am personally with the character right now, because I think this is a solid Boba Fett figure. Now, Boba's had a lot of figures in the line already, and I never really understood why people didn't like the old Empire Strikes Back Boba. Probably to do with the articulation, but my response would always be, well, Boba Fett just stands there. What do you want him to do? But this Boba Fett can get into so many great action poses, and that's what you want, because he's being played by Tamira Morrison now. He's going to be pulling all sorts of fighting moves. It's a solid, regal-looking sculpt. The articulation is great. There's a brilliant head sculpt under the helmet. It's just a solid Boba Fett figure, and I never thought, if you'd asked me 4 or 5 years ago if I was ever going to include a Boba Fett on a top 10 figures of the year, I'd have told you were dreaming. I didn't even own a Boba Fett figure until last year. But here I am, changing my opinion. Throne Room Deluxe Boba Fett gets the number 6 spot on my list. We're at the halfway point on the list. At number 5, my best figures of 2022, we have Bad Batch Echo. Now, this figure is brilliant. There is so much unique sculpting on this. Everything from how the helmet has been engineered to fit around his headset to his incredibly unique backpack and this droid arm. It's just brilliant. There's so much going on here. They could have quite easily just given us a clone trooper again, repainted it, stuck a fancy backpack on it and called it a day. But they really went the extra mile with Echo, and he completely rounds out the Bad Batch team. It's just a brilliant figure. So Bad Batch Echo thoroughly deserves his spot at the number 5 point on my list. Moving on to number 4, we have Reva the Third Sister. Now this is a perfect example of how good Black Series head sculpts can be, because the likeness to Moses Ingram on this figure is next level. I'm a sucker for the Inquisitors, so this one was a no-brainer for me, but the articulation on this is incredible. When you compare her articulation to the old Second Sister when she came out, there's no comparison. There's no comparison at all. This figure is so exceptional, and the number of accessories that she came with. Not only did we get a double-bladed variant of her lightsaber, but we got individual single-bladed variations. I kind of feel like if this was any other figure, they would have just had the hilt split in half and had it be, not quite screen accurate, but they went the extra mile. They gave her those extra lightsabers, and it just pulls the whole thing together into a great figure. The articulation is exceptional. The paint job is sleek and scary. I absolutely love it. The Third Sister earns her spot at number 4 on my list. We're getting into the big leagues now. The number 3 pick for the best Black Series figures of 2022 goes to the Deluxe Cobb Vanth. There's just so much to say about this figure. It's unreal. The paint job is exceptional. The wearing and the dissolved parts of armor. The fantastic head sculpt, which has a brilliant likeness to Timothy Olyphant. It's just exceptional. You get his blaster pistol, you get his blaster rifle, you get the jetpack with the detachable missile in the back, and it's just cool. I'm sorry, Cobb Vanth is just cool. He is one of the coolest characters in Star Wars as far as I'm concerned. This is one of those characters that I can remember when I saw him on screen for the first time, I was like, I want that Black Series figure. I want Cobb Vanth on my desk. And that's where he lives. He lives on my desk now. The attention to detail on this figure is just next level. You know, it would have been so easy to just slap on some Boba Fett armor and give him a thrown together assemblage of body parts, but I really feel like they went the extra mile. They put in such an attention to detail. The head sculpt is fantastic, and the way that the hair is sculpted to make the helmet sit so awkwardly on the head, exactly the way it does on the show, to the point where if you look at him and he's got his helmet on, you still know that's not Boba Fett. I don't feel like that's an easy thing to pull off for a helmeted character. Usually, you could stick a helmet on and it's just like, oh, it's that guy, oh, it's that guy. You put this helmet on, you know straight away from the way it's sitting, that's not Boba Fett, that's Cobb Vanth. And that is my number 3 pick for the best figures of the year. We're really starting to get up there now. Number 2 on my list, I've mentioned her already very, very briefly, but it is Fennec Shand. Now, Hasbro knew what they were doing when they made this figure. They know what they did. They knew what they did so much that they made a whole documentary episode on the making of a Black Series figure, and this is the one that they chose to frontline it. And the reason they did that is because it is one of the best figures they have ever pulled off. You can stand this figure in any pose and it just oozes with attitude and awesome. The head sculpt is a brilliant likeness to Ming-Na Wen. I love the detachable strap for the rifle, so you can choose to have it like slung over her shoulder or holding it in battle-ready position, or you can have the strap on, you can have the strap off, it doesn't matter. The helmet hinges exactly the way that it does in the TV show, so that she can peer through it. And that's before you get into the incredible levels of sculpting detail on this outfit. People have said it before, but they're right. It would have been such a waste to have this figure in soft goods. They've got the level of detail that they've achieved with this sort of semi-soft plastic. I absolutely love the way that the orange and the black just complement each other so well. She looks so mysterious, and she looks like she could seriously kick your ass, and I love that. There's only 2 figures in the Book of Boba Fett line so far, and both of them made my top 10 list for 2022. So make more of them. We've got more of them coming. I think we've got Cad Bane coming, we've got a Pike coming, we've got some Tuskens coming, and of course we have that deluxe Chrysanthemum coming. If they are half as good as what they've pulled off here with Fennec Shand, they will be worthy additions to the collection and will probably find their way onto another list somewhere else. But for the time being, Fennec Shand, second best Black Series figure of 2022. Outdone by only 1 figure, in my not so humble opinion. But my number 1 best Black Series figure of 2022, there was no contest. It was decided the moment I picked her up. It is Ahsoka Tano from The Mandalorian. This is one of those standout, once in a 5 or 6 line moment where you see how good the Black Series really can be when the proper time and attention is put onto a figure. Every minute inch of this figure is exceptional. The sculpting is out of this world. The paint job on the face, the clothes, the head, it's just all so perfect. It is perfectly executed. I love the new, thicker, more solid colour that they're giving to the lightsaber blades. You put these next to the Fulcrum Ahsoka lightsabers, there is no contest. These ones are superior. And the likeness to Rosario Dawson is just out of this world. There is just so much to say about how much I love this figure, and yet finding the words to articulate how it makes me feel when I look at her on my shelf, it's just impossible. You can't put that level of admiration into words. The Ahsoka figures are some of the best figures in the Black Series, and this one is no exception to that. In fact, I think it stands heads and head tails above the other figures in the line. Clone Wars Ahsoka, Rebels Ahsoka, I would even go so far as to say the new Padawan Ahsoka they got coming down the line, this is the figure to beat. This is what you're up against. Good luck. The Corvus Ahsoka Tano, for me, It shows how much love and dedication the Hasbro team are putting into these figures. It would have been so easy, again, to just slap some soft goods on this and call it a day. No. They went so far beyond the Call of Duty when they made this. The articulation is exceptional. It's what you really want for a dual-wielding, lightsaber-using figure. Butterfly joints in the shoulders, knee joints that hide themselves within the texture of her outfit. Where do they come up with this stuff? It's so brilliant. This was an easy one for me. From the moment that I saw her on the shelf in Best Buy, the moment I got her home and got her open, and actually, this one was a no-brainer for me. From the moment I saw her on the shelf in Best Buy, to the moment that I got her home and got her out of the box and really got to grips with the engineering and the artistry behind this figure. It is just exceptional. I haven't yet done a top 10 Black Series figures of all time list. Look for this figure on that list because she will be there. But for the time being, it is my absolute pleasure to award the best Black Series figure of 2022 to the Corvus Ahsoka Tano. What a figure. So those were my picks for the top 10 best Star Wars The Black Series figures of 2022. What were your favourite figures this year? Did you get any of those hidden gems of the year? Did you add a holy grail to your collection? I'm always interested to find out. Let me know down below. But for the time being, I've been Grand Moff Tony. You may subscribe when ready.